Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Innovation Podcast, your source for all things innovation. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Lisa Loud on the line, and she's COO over at Media Banker. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. Happy to be here.
All right, so I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk about digital banking solutions, and you're the woman that I want on the show talking about that. But before we do that, let's go a little bit further into your background. Tell us a little bit more about how you got started in business and in your career, please.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a journey. So I'm a software engineer by training, and I've just gradually wandered my way across the corporate world. I took a job in marketing at PayPal, and I worked at Apple in engineering, and I've landed really in operations. So, and then I got into the crypto world. So really the last 3 years I've been focused on cryptocurrency and blockchain companies doing operations. So now I've taken the COO role. I love to make companies work better.
Oh man, this is awesome, and I love it. And I love your background because you have many different angles that you can attack some of the problems that companies face. So great stuff there, and I think that's a great transition. So let's just dive into today's topic. So digital banking solutions and trends in fintech. I mean, where do you want to start this one? It's a big topic.
Yeah, so I love this topic. We're actually involved in a project to solve some of these problems that I want to talk about today. What I see is that the banking industry, really since the banking crisis in 2008, we lost a lot of the big players who were providing services. And then, or the small players, the niche players, it kind of just got wiped off the map. And then the big players who actually had specialized departments to service certain niche industries, they are shutting down, like Deutsche Bank, they're shutting down those areas of business because they're just not broad enough for their investors. You know, they want something that appeals to everybody. So there's a big gap right now in the world because what we're seeing is these new businesses, right? We're seeing businesses that are really digital based, and they're trying to work with traditional banking solutions that don't match at all.
So what do you think, and I get that completely, and I don't think anybody listening to this would disagree, by the way, so I think you're spot on. So that brings us kind of to present day in the market and kind of that mismatch between what's needed and what's available. So what do you think, and not asking you to have your crystal ball, by the way, but what do you think are some interesting ways to approach this problem?
Well, I think we have to look at what do companies today need. And what they need really depends on what their customers need. And what we're all seeing, I'm sure everyone would agree, today's population is looking for instant access. They're looking for meaningful, memorable experiences on their terms when they're available in the little slices of time during their commute or whatever. And they're also looking for global access. There's no longer a concept of I'm in the U.S. so I can get access to U.S. content. No, I want access to every content that is created around the world. And the other trend that we're seeing, particularly with the newer generations, is the categories of creator and consumer are no longer distinct. Everybody is a creator. Everybody is a consumer of content. So it's becoming, what I would say is that creation of content is becoming an integral part of participating in society. Look at TikTok. In order to be on TikTok, you have to have content that you've created. And now with the current situation, social distancing and remote work, everything is accelerated. You know, it's pushing us more towards the digital because we're forced to rely solely on digital interactions with our work, with our community, and with content. So that's the customers, right? If you take that layer, that's the customer layer. The companies that are trying to service these customers, I like to look at it through the lens of music, media in general, but music in particular, because the music industry is now becoming much more digitized. The old way of doing things, there are so many ways to get paid in music, right? You can get paid through ad revenue, through subscription, through royalties, there's many payments coming into the system. The payments going back to the content creators are a problem. They're not very quick. It can take years for content creators to actually get their payments from the revenue that was generated. Ideally, that would take place instantly, the same day. You get somebody clicks on something that and listens to one of your songs, for example, you get paid that same day, 20 cents or whatever it is. That's what we would like to see. So what we're seeing is that the traditional banks are so far removed from that. They can't handle mass payments. They can't handle micropayments. They can't handle cross-border payments. And they're not very good at making sure that payments flow through quickly because they have to do all these credit checks and calculations and holds and international transfers. So a bank that would serve the music industry would be able to bring together all of these people in the ecosystem of music, all the partners, all of the PSPs, all of the people who show YouTubes, the ones that show content and share content with the general public. All those people would be part of the ecosystem for the bank, and those payments would be facilitated in a friction-free, fast, easy way that nobody has to calculate. And when we talk about, now I'm getting into the blockchain side of things, because when we talk about fast, friction-free, complex payments, instead of having a human who has to remember all these rules and figure out which payment follows which regulations and which tax laws and everything, instead of that, if we have a smart contract that has all of that information preloaded, and all it has to do is take that payment and feed it into the smart contract and spit out the payments to the correct people, the content creators, the people who played it, the companies that are third parties, then you have a much more efficient system. It costs less, and it makes the artists much happier, the content creators much happier. So that's what I'm looking to achieve. That's what we are looking to achieve with Media Banker, to get to the point where we service the clients at the level of their needs. We're solving problems for them.
Wow, what an absolutely amazing story, number one. So I'm sitting here as a content creator, like chomping at the bit. I'm like, wait a minute, how this brave new world is like you discovering another country here. And it's all, what I love about this is what you're talking about is extremely logical. The ecosystem is very possible. There's enough people. There's mass. It's definitely scalable. There's definitely going to be a demand for this. And it's a huge problem what you're mentioning, and it's just not and not just music. I know we're talking about music, and I think that's a perfect example. But if you even think about, in a past career, I was financial advisor a long time ago, and I remember thinking about even just that 2 to 3 day hold period that somebody had before they could get their check, and the overnight funds rate, and why can't somebody have their thing? We've come so far from that that what'll be interesting to see is as this evolves, like adoption, because I think people are going to want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we have come far in some ways as a culture, but have the banks really kept pace with that?
Hence all the cash apps, right? Like, which cash app do you have? Which cash app do you have? Which cash app do you have? I'll download it real quick, and then I'll use it so that I can send you this one payment just so that we can be done. But no, the cash apps, all these like micro banks, the business banks that are coming up that integrate with things like Zapier and all these other things like that. If the big banks were able to, move and accommodate some of these things, all these other players wouldn't be coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an example is it's crazy, but I won't mention which bank I bank with, but I cannot send an international wire without going into the branch. But guess what? All the branches are closed right now. So I can't send an international wire. There is no solution. So, I can use Zelle, but that's limited, right? So it's crazy what you can do and what you can't do with banks these days. The thing is that in order to create a successful business, this is what I've always believed, you have to solve the pain points of an industry. You have to start with solution-oriented thinking. If you have that as at the center of your business, I'm solving this problem, then you can be profitable very quickly. You can generate revenue fairly quickly because you're solving a problem that exists already. In something like what we're talking about, Media Banker, obviously it's not going to be instant because we're talking about a lot of different players in a big ecosystem. But in general, if you're creating a business, you should be thinking about an existing problem and you should be solving it as quickly as possible and getting to revenue and then building from there. That is the way to be successful in business, in my opinion.
What are some of the some of the niches that you plan on solving these problems for right now? So music, I know you gave that as an example. Is that one that you're going to go after, or YouTubers, or like I'm just trying to get a feel for where you start with this. That's all.
Yeah, that's a great question. So music is one, content creators. There's also digital advertising. May seem like a stretch from music, but really digital advertising is huge. It's like a huge industry right now. And, at PayPal, I was managing a media budget of millions. And making sure there's no fraud there, first of all, is very difficult. Your programmatic spend is very hard to track. You've got to use third-party tools to make sure that the right people are getting paid for the right clicks, right? And that they're real clicks. So digital advertising is a very big potential area for that. Another one is publishing, book publishing. You write a book, you end up with, over 5 years, you end up with maybe $20,000, including your advance. And it's just crazy. Or you can self-publish, but there's challenges inherent in both of those methods. It's just not happening. Things are not happening very well. Producers, content, studios, there's anything that falls under media, and I would define media fairly broadly. There's a lot of industries that could benefit from a bank that understands their industry, the movie industry, films. One of our founders actually is from the film industry, and that's where the impetus of this came from. But yeah, in my career, I've really gone after those pain points and those problems in fintech because when there is a problem in fintech, it punishes the weakest person in the chain. So the musicians, they don't have much power individually. People in countries where they don't have access to financing, those are the people who suffer when things are not efficient. And that's what fintech solves, in my opinion. That's what blockchain solves. It's the democratization. It gives everybody the same amount of power in the chain, and it can solve problems that really change communities and change the world, change families, change futures. It's incredibly powerful. You've got to start somewhere. So real estate is another area, but we're starting with media.
It's awesome. I love it. It's great story, and I'm excited to see this progress. And you better believe I'm going to be tapping you on the shoulder in 2021 because I want some updates. This is exciting. So Lisa, if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about what you're doing over at Media Banker or to connect with any of your projects, what's the best way for them to reach out or to learn more?
You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn as my main social media, and my name is Lisa Loud, so it's linkedin.com/in/Lisa Loud. I also have a blog at disruptive.finance. So those are the best two ways to find me online. And we're in stealth mode still, but we will have, Media Banker will have a website at some point, and I will announce it on my LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Well, Lisa, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about all the great work you're doing over at Media Banker. Excited to hear more about this as it evolves. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Innovation, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Lisa, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Adam. It was a pleasure.